Yeah, just you can't go on the road and start the way we started and expect to beat good teams. We go down and we're on defense, and we get a roughing the passer that negates a interception when we had the ball on the 41-yard line to start, and the roughing the passer was didn't affect the interception, so it happened. And then offensively, we go down, we score a touchdown, we get called for an illegal pick play that takes a touchdown off the board, and then the next play you throw an interception, and so now at that point you've had a red area takeaway or a red area touchdown brought back, and then a pick that would set us up in good field position. I love the way our guys played. They finished, they stuck with it, made a little run at the end back there, but we put ourselves in a tough spot to start. So I'll open it up with questions.
We'll open up now for questions from our media. For our media, please use the raise hand function. We'll call on you to ask those questions. Started off with Adam Miller.
Coach Loggains, obviously the ups and downs of the game, but one thing that kind of felt pretty constant and consistent for you guys was your ability to stop the run. Not many explosive plays, no 20-yard runs or anything like that, maybe a couple first down runs, but how did you feel overall getting to evaluate just the performance of your team's ability to stop the run and get your guys back in the game and stopping those drives that could have built into longer things and getting a defense off the field in the second half?
Yeah, I thought we did a decent job with that part of it. We only allowed 2 explosive runs, but there were 8 explosive passes. Still rushed for 154 yards. And the reason the yards started because they're over 50% on third down, so they were okay playing the hey 3rd and 2, run the ball, get 3, create another set of downs. Which I felt like, we eliminate the explosive passes. And there were a couple things that we got away with. I mean, they missed 3 field goals, and they're going to look at the tape, and there was a couple opportunities to make bigger plays that they didn't capitalize on either. But I was happy. We jumped into a 3-down defense for the first time this year, played a different structure because we felt like that gave us the best chance to win that game. And there were some things in that obviously we need to get cleaned up. We gave a touchdown up because we didn't put our guys in a great situation on having checks and having full understanding of it. But overall, stopping the run, it's hard for me to say that when you give up 154 rushing yards. Like, that part's hard. I thought we tackled a lot better than we did last week. I thought we played with great energy. But that's where I stand on that.
Let's go over to Billy.
Hey, Coach. AJ Swan looked like he really provided, a spark there in that fourth quarter. Just talk a little bit about his performance. And I mean, at all said and done, it was still a 3-point game with a minute and a half left.
Yeah, Billy, I agree with you. Like, he did that. You definitely felt a different energy when he came into the game. He's been battling injuries. I still wouldn't say he's 100% healthy, but this guy, AJ, does have he was an SEC recruit. He played at 2 SEC schools, at Vanderbilt, and was a starting quarterback. He played at LSU. And when he was healthy for us early, outside a couple bad plays that were bad plays that were pick sixes, he's played really well. He's a natural thrower. He's got experience. But he did definitely come in and give us a lift right there in that situation. It was good to see just how the guys believe in him a lot. He started the year as the starter and then got banged up, and I think he's getting close to being healthy. And this bye comes at the right time for us, just because offensively you're down 3 offensive linemen, lose a tight end. We're getting the quarterback position's getting a little healthier, so it's coming at the right time for us to kind of hopefully we can heal up a little bit over this bye week as well.
You have a follow-up there, Billy?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask that as well. Going into this bye week, what is really the focus? You get some time to get healthy, and then you welcome Georgia Southern to Boone. So just kind of what are your steps over the next week to get back in healthy? And is AJ potentially gonna slide back into that starting QB role?
Yeah, you had to throw that one in there, didn't you, Billy? But no, there is for us, we had 3 offensive linemen out of the game, 3 starters, and there's a chance maybe to get one back. Through the bye. Hopefully, we don't know that it's going to be close, but the bye at least gives us the ability to have some hope there. Our tight end, and one of our better skill players, and one of the better players on the team, went down in this game, and it doesn't look good with him to get him back for the rest of the season probably. And then AJ definitely created some conversation in the building, and really AJ's conversation was going to be, when do you get healthy? When is that knee completely healed? And he did enough. I mean, you could see he's still a little bit ginger at times on it. And at quarterback, look, here's the bottom line, guys. When you have 3 offensive linemen out, and then you can't put a quarterback out there until he's completely healthy so he can protect himself. So half of the reason, JJ was still playing is because AJ was a starter, but AJ has not been able to protect himself because he can't get away from people right now. And I like the way our offensive line is developing, but when you're down 3 starters and you lost your starting left tackle after the portal to Oklahoma State, and then Jaden Ramsey's down, Trent Ramsey's down, Tyreek Poindexter's down, so you're already on your 3rd tackles already. And then, and you're playing a true freshman with him and not having the ability to protect himself. It's been harder for us to play him because he couldn't sit back there and protect himself. And right now we're just not playing good enough in front to put a guy out there. And JJ's given us the ability to at least move the pocket and do those things. And the healthier AJ gets, it was good to see him play because he is going to create a conversation inside our building to which guy is best to go win this next game. And we'll obviously compete during the bye like we do for every position.
We have time for one more. Let's take this one from Trey Blake.
Hey, Coach. Trey Blake, Appalachian Weekly News. You mentioned how important practice is for this quarterback battle.
Yeah.
What are you specifically looking at in your 2 or 3 quarterbacks this week and a half to 2 weeks?
Yeah, Trey, same thing. We're going to we'll do a lot of good on good tomorrow on Tuesday, and before we start getting into a lot of opponent work. But we want to see who manages the team best, like who's going to make great decisions, who's going to distribute the ball, who's throwing the ball to the right guys, and the timing of the play. It's also about leadership, like who's going to take this team over. I don't think either guy has done a good enough job from a leadership standpoint I think both of them are liked. I think AJ is very, very well respected by his teammates. I think JJ is respected. But it's really who's going to manage the game best. And even in this last game, practice execution becomes game day reality. I learned that my first job in the NFL for Bill Parcells in 2005. And that's how we played, is how we practiced. Like we had a couple bad plays at quarterback in practice, and there were some things that happened that we got to become a better practice team. And so for the quarterbacks, it will be that there's going to be some situational work in the red area, 2-minute drills, 3rd down, an area we still need to improve on both sides of the ball. We weren't good enough on 3rd down on offense or defense last week. And we'll put them in some tough situations, see how they respond to the situational work, and see where we are health-wise as well.
Thank you, Coach Loggains. Appreciate your time today.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, we're excited to get home. That's for sure. This is only our 2nd home game in 47 days. So a month and a half. We're pretty fired up to have an opportunity to be on national TV and play at home.
We'll open up now for questions. For our media, please use the raise hand function and we'll call on you to ask those questions. Started off with Adam Miller.
Coach Beck, as you alluded to, obviously the big matchup on national TV spotlight for you guys Thursday night at home. But, this is a Marshall team that in conference play, there are 3 conference games they've played. They're, I think they lead the conference in score. They're averaging like 46 points a game. They're, they're also running the 2nd or 3rd fewest plays. So the efficiency is pretty high there. What kind of, challenge is that going to be for your defense, and how important is it going to be for maybe even your offense as well to play a little defense and keep the ball out of their hands?
Yeah, no doubt. They are very similar to us, right? They're on a hot streak. We've won 3 of our last 4, and I think they are the same. I think 3 of their last 4 as well. And what they've done, the quarterback, Carlos, is playing really, really well for them right now, and he's the catalyst. He gets them going, and that's why they've been very efficient. He's making good decisions with the football. They don't turn it over, but yet they've created a lot of turnovers. They've been very, very, very opportunistic so far in their last couple of conference games, which has helped. That's part of why they don't run a lot of plays. They have a lot of short fields and are able to score points without keeping the football for a long period of time and or run a lot of plays because of the turnovers. So turnovers are going to be huge in this. We have to do we got to contain him. He's been hard to stop. He throws the ball well. He runs the ball well. I have a lot of respect for Coach Gibson and what he's done there, and what having worked with him for 3 years, I know his guys will be ready, and they'll play hard and tough, and it should be a great ball game.
Let's go over to Billy.
Hey, Coach. Similar question to earlier. Going back to the quarterback room, how have you kind of seen Samari develop over this last week, and how important is he going to be for that matchup on Thursday?
Yeah, I think Samari continues to get better, and as he gains confidence and has the success that he has, he's made really good decisions with the football thus far. I've been very proud of him for that. As I had mentioned, the whole turnover battle, we've done a lot better. I know in conference play, I think we're +3, even though we're -6 on the year. So that shows me that in our last 4 conference ball games, we've made a big emphasis on protecting the football and getting the football, and it's showing, and it's also helping us win ball games. Samari has been a big part of that. He's made the good decisions on when to throw it, when to run it, when to hand it. In our offense, where there's a lot of decisions that have to be made, and so I'm proud of his development.
Go ahead with your follow-up, Billy.
Yeah, Coach. I was just curious. One of the big things that everybody focuses on during a bye week is getting healthy, getting back. Are there any, big key names at this point where you can say, they got the rest, they're looking good, that might be coming back into the fold?
Yeah, I think I would agree exactly what you said. We went into the App game without 2 starting offensive linemen, and getting those guys potentially back. So I feel like we're healthier than we've been in a long time. Does that mean everybody's back to 100%? Not necessarily, but it's getting them closer to the field. Some of them will be later in the week, game time decision. But I do like where we're at as far as our health and our bumps and our bruises and just getting our legs back underneath us and those type of things. It's been very spirited, very quick practices.
Let's go over to Alan Blondin.
Yeah, Coach. I guess follow up on that a little bit. Defensively, I'm sure the main guy you'd like to get back is Shane Bruce. Is he going to return on Thursday?
Hard to tell. He's been going through practice, limited reps at this point. Says he feels good, and he's looking better. I think it's going to end up being kind of a game time decision again with him.
And you haven't really disclosed what Tad's injury is. Can you give us the nature of that? And is he going to be healthy enough to play on Thursday? And if he is he going to play on Thursday?
He should be. I really don't want to disclose necessarily what it was, but I will say this is like a typical Wednesday for us in terms of our preparation week. Wednesday has always been the day when our guys see the doctors and we get a little bit more indication. He has practiced, and he looks good. So we'll know a little bit more probably tomorrow, in terms of where we're going to be at.
Thank you, Coach Beck. Appreciate your time today.
Appreciate you guys.
Yes, guys played tough. Obviously disappointing loss, but I was really proud of our guys. Thought that Landon Graves' first start of his career, thought he showed a lot of toughness, a lot of grit, stepped up, made a lot of plays. They jump out on us. I guess we jump up 7-0, obviously, and they answer back, and then they score, we drive all the way back down, another 10-play drive, and attempt a field goal from the 11 and miss it, and then they go right back down, touchdown. I was really proud of our guys and in the fight to close it to 21-14 right there at the half. Come out the second half and, get a stop and, turn the ball over right there and miscommunication, and returning the punt. So they punch it in next play, and that's kind of where the pendulum swung. And, they've got a good team. They've got a great quarterback who plays really well. I thought they played well as a team, and they're playing really confident right now. And when you're neck and neck right there in that third quarter and you give them the ball in the 7, and and they punch it right in, and then you don't, and you throw an interception right there. That's where the game kind of swung right there. That was the momentum swing, but our kids fought to the end. Thought we really improved. There was a lot of improvement. There was a lot of positives from third downs to, you know, outgaining them rushing yards to it's the fourth down, the 1-for-1s, the continuing to battle, with guys having to step up. And I know a lot of teams, it's college football. Everybody's beat up around week 9. And I think we've gotten our fair share of it. But guys continue to step up and play to the end. And we've got to get to where we eliminate those turnovers right there in that third quarter that have continued to show itself.
We'll open up now to questions from our media. For our media, please use the raise hand function. We'll call on you to ask those questions. Started off with Adam Miller.
Yeah, Coach, you guys did a pretty efficient job running the ball, 5 yards a carry, but what were some of the things that you felt like maybe where you really needed some of those bigger runs in different spots where you guys struggled to get to the markers a few times and Southern Miss was able to take control and put a lot of pressure on your defense?
Well, I think that, if you look at the first 2 drives, I think it was a 14-play touchdown drive. It was a very methodical drive. Wanted to make sure we put Landon, in good decisions and gave him good opportunities to be successful in his first start, against a really good defense that's got, 13 interceptions. I think they had 7 fumble recoveries, and then we come right back and have a 10-play drive down the 11. We just don't punch it in, and we missed a field goal to take the lead back 10-7. I think that's one of those moments. I thought we were efficient. I thought we had some explosive runs. I think the biggest thing we were trying to do right there is be efficient and put Landon in good situations against a really good defense. And, Southern Miss's defenses, they play a lot of cover 3. They keep everything in front. They do a great job with their eyes, and they're coached really well in their front. And linebackers are long and very disruptive. And I thought we did a really good job. I thought we had a great game plan, and we kept them off balance most of the game. And it's the turnovers. It's the turnovers. We had a great drive. The time we went 3 and out, we had all 3 plays. We didn't execute. They were open. We sprinted out and got 2 yards on a sprint out, and whether delay, whether or not, you still got to execute the play. They executed them pretty well. Then we have the slant wide open to the field, and we just miss it. So it's all down to execution, and we had to protect our defense against a really good offense and make sure Landon was in, really successful opportunities, chances to let him make good decisions and not throw into a lot of traffic.
Let's go over to Billy.
Hey, Coach. Looking forward, you're facing another dynamic quarterback and Old Dominion this weekend. What do you kind of see, and how does the game plan kind of shift but stay similar when Braylon and Colton are kind of similar in what they can do offensively?
I think Braylon, when you go back and you look at his body work, man, he's had a great year, and he's playing at a high level. The game's slow to him, and that's what you expect you would hope for in a senior quarterback. And Coach Anderson, Blake and their whole staff does a tremendous job coaching all those guys. But man, he's more, he's making really good decisions and checking it down, and he's being real efficient and running the offense at a high level and not turning it over. And he runs when he needs to, when he needs to. I think you look at number 1, you look at Josh, I mean, from Old Dominion, I mean, he's electric. I mean, he can change the game in one play. I mean, he's explosive. He's wanting to beat you with his legs and his arm, and he's going to attack you kind of with his arms, with his legs. But he can rip it too, man. I mean, this guy's entertaining to watch. I mean, he's a dang good quarterback that's explosive as can be, and he's dynamic, and he can change the game in one snap.
Coach, I want to circle back to the running game, and obviously we've talked a lot about your running backs over the past 2 years, but kind of want to talk about your offensive line and that unit and how important they've been to obviously having a back like Ahmad Hardy last year, having your top 3 backs this year, averaging over 6 yards a carry. what is that unit, maybe anchored by Elijah Fisher, obviously has a name that's been all Sun Belt and somebody that people probably recognize around the league, but obviously the rest of that group as well. What have they meant to your team and being able to run the ball as effectively as you guys have?
They're tough, man. Fish he's a veteran at center. He's tough. He's got a high IQ, cares. Jay Mickle, again, is a 3-year guy here. He's tough, cares and got great leadership. And AJ Vincent at right tackle has had a great year and has been solid. Q McBroom at left tackle has had a solid year. And then, at left guard, we've had multiple injuries at that left guard position. We lost Roscoe Tucker in fall camp. Reese Steele was his backup. Reese tore his ACL against Arkansas State, and then we have Colleen Croswell come in, and then he gets hurt. So that left guard now, Nate Green's playing that left guard position and doing a good job. It's we've been steady with 4 of the 5, and we've just been able to guys that's really stepped up, at that left guard position. So we've been able to continue to effectively run the football and be able to hold up for the most part in any kind of protections.
Thank you, Coach Vincent. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're on our bye week, much needed. Got to try to get a lot of guys back and healthy, and this is a great week for us to really reassess our young guys and continue to develop those guys' skill set and their understanding of the game. We're just trying to put our best foot forward for the next 4 games.
We'll open up now for questions. For our media, please use the raise hand function and we'll call on you to ask those questions. We'll start off with Brady.
Yeah, Dell, on that note, just wanted to ask about what you've seen from your couple of tight ends, Grant and Lane, that have been playing more with the injury to Camden, what you've seen from them.
Oh, yeah, they've been doing a good job of trying to provide blocking on the perimeter. They've both been catching the ball well. Just got to make sure we secure the ball after the catch, but very encouraged by those 2 guys. They're continuing to get better. They still have to improve their inline blocking and pass protection when that's called upon, but I'm very pleased with their progress. And, both guys are a weapon. Grant is probably more of a weapon in the passing game down the field than Lane, and he made a heck of a catch in the pass game.
And just having had a chance to go watch the game again from Thursday, just what stood out as far as things that held you guys back from being able to win the game?
Yeah, I just got off to a terrible first half start defensively. Giving up explosive plays in the secondary is pretty much the biggest thing. But at the same token, you have opportunity to win the game in the fourth quarter, and we turn the ball over, and you can't have those kind of screw ups trying to win a football game. So there were good things, positive things, but more of just starting really slow defensively. But I thought they responded at halftime, made the right adjustments, and they played the second half a lot better.
Let's go to Billy.
Hey, Coach. Speaking on that, I just was curious your thoughts on how you've seen Cam Brown develop in, a pretty efficient game, only the 1 interception, but 4 total TDs, and I think Ted's been doing a great job as well. But just talk a little bit about Cam and his development and what you saw from him this past weekend.
Yeah, he distributed the ball well. He made things happen with his legs. He extended plays on passing plays when protection broke down, which is gives us an added bonus and plus when you have a quarterback that can do that. He still missed some things in the game. We had some opportunities for some shots, and we were able to watch that tape, and he missed a couple of touchdown opportunities that we got to make sure we see moving forward. But I'm very pleased with where he is and where he's going to go, and his continued development over the next 4 weeks are going to be very critical in our success.
Let's go over to Adam Miller.
Yeah, Coach. Ted Hurst, it was in that back and forth seesaw the first half. He had the big play touchdown, but then I thought it was really interesting on another one of the ones where he threw a really important block there down there at the end of that play to finish off that run. And what can you say about Ted? You know, everyone likes him for his highlight reels and the big plays he can make with the ball in his hands. But what are some of the things you think he does really well without the ball in his hands?
Yeah, he's probably our best blocker. We try not to put him in those situations because he's our best receiver too, but he's very unselfish, very competitive, and he's really taken his game to another level and understanding coverages and just being a team player. Yeah, he blocked that corner probably 20 yards to spring DJ Murray, which is something that is infectious to the team. And when your best player can do the little things, it adds uh, that responsibility to the younger guys, and it sets an example and sets the tone for those guys to follow.
Coach McGee, obviously you talked about the slow start, but coming out of halftime, scoring 17 straight points out of halftime, what did you see out of your unit? And maybe what did you say at halftime that kind of got that group firing coming into the third quarter and into the fourth as well?
Yeah, we just weren't playing to the standard. We did have to make some adjustments because we were down to our fifth and sixth, seventh corner. Played with our third nickel in the secondary, but at the same token, wasn't no excuse. And I knew we had a lot more in us. And second half, we tackled better. We were better on third downs, which was the key to the drill. But at the end of the day, we still allowed 2 fourth down conversions, which were big parts of the game. But it was just more so just playing to the standard, making those adjustments. And I thought offense played decent the first half. We didn't play perfect, but I felt like they were in a groove, and it all started with the defense winning the middle 8 of the game, and the defense getting a stop, and the offense went down and put points on the board.
Thank you, Coach McGee. Appreciate your time today.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, definitely. Really hard fought game. I thought by both teams in Jonesboro on Saturday night. I thought both kids, both teams fought their guts out. Credit to Coach Jones and his team. I thought they made more plays down the stretch, especially in the second half. It really was on third down offensively where we needed to sustain some drives. It became a field position game in the second half. You get 4 drive opportunities, and where you batted 50%, which is standard. In the first half, we go down to 25% in the second half. And with only 4 drive opportunities, you needed those to be able to sustain. So we come up short in that game, and credit to Coach Jones and his team. Now it's moving on to App State. We got another one of these kind of, half bye weeks with a Thursday night game, which is really important for our team right now. Trying to get some bumps and bruises healed up, especially defensively. We lost another defensive tackle on Jaquan McKinney for the season, and hurting on that defensive line, and some guys that are getting some high rep counts. Hopefully we can get some bumps and bruises taken care of before entering App State. Important December for us. We've got 2 rivalry games coming up, one with App State and one with Coastal, as well as trying to fight like heck to get to our 4th bowl game in a row, which would be a first time in school history. So with that, I'll take any questions that you got.
We'll open up now for questions from our media. For our media, please use the raise hand function. We'll call on you to ask those questions. We'll start off with Josh Aubrey.
Hey, Coach, can you discuss the play calling at the end of the game and the clock management issues and the decision to kick the field goal when you were as close as you were, and also the overall offense there in the second half? And I don't know if I'll get another question. So also, is there any thought of you kind of stepping in a little bit on either side of the ball and taking over a little more of the reins there?
All right, a lot to unpack there. I'll do my best to try. I guess I'll start with the game first. Obviously, on that drive that you're talking about, they had just scored. It was a 2-score game, and priority number 1 was to get it to a 1-score game, as well as trying to keep all 3 timeouts available, because that gives you 2 opportunities to try to get the ball back. 1 with an onside kick if needed, and 2 to be able to get a 3 and out by having all 3 timeouts, no matter what the clock operation was. 2 things happened on that drive that I thought that hurt us a little bit. One one, credit to Arkansas State. They started playing coverage, and we had to be efficient in dinking the ball down and being able to, move the ball and get first downs while then playing coverage. We get a holding penalty, which I was not in agreement with, but we get it. That moves it back, and that takes a little bit more time off the clock. And then, you get down to the 2-yard line. You get down the 2-yard line, and you're kind of in a different position there. We went with a heavy package that with Weston that has been really, really good for us. Support the call. It's kind of been undefeated for us and get stopped. And you put JC back in, which obviously takes some time off the play clock. We get to the 3rd and 3. We've had it 3 times down there. And like I said, priority number 1 is to cut it to a 1-score game and give yourself the opportunity. At that time, being on the 3-yard line, I thought it was best to go ahead and kick the field goal, get it to a 1-score game, try the onside kick. Tripp did a phenomenal job with his kick. Ball scored it out, and they were able to get on top of it before our defender got there, and then still had 3 timeouts. If you get the 3 and out there, you got about 1:40 left on the clock. We allow the big run to happen on the first play. We stop them on the next 3, but they were in field goal range after that big run, and that left about 40 seconds on the clock. So I hope that answers that one for you. As far as the play calling duties, those will remain with the coordinators. I entrust them to be able to get that done. I feel bad for Coach Bailey right now with the injuries, especially on the defensive front. But you got to play good team football. It's no excuse not to win. You got to find other areas. We needed 35 points in that game, and we didn't get it offensively. And we needed to be able to play, elite special teams. I thought we did in our coverage units, but we needed to play a little bit better on return units to be able to establish a little bit better field position in the second half. We had a -5 yard start as well as a -15 yard start after kick return. So I hope that answers your questions, and I'll take anybody else that has one.
Let's go over to Adam Miller.
Coach Helton, obviously, you guys jump out there before half, you're up 21-10, and then Arkansas State finishes off that long drive, 5-minute drive, and pulls closer before half, and then they open up the second half with another pretty long drive. They really it seems like your defense in that period, was the sustained drives by Arkansas State that sort of helped them slow the game down and almost settle in really offensively. What was the things that you thought your defense maybe struggled with in that specific period of time, right before halftime with their scoring drive and then to open the second half?
Yeah, I thought there was a key moment right before halftime. You're sitting there 21-10. I'll start there, 21-10, and we've got a 4th and 1, and we go QB sneak. I've never seen a high-low on QB sneak ever in my lifetime in 31 years. I don't think I've ever seen it ever. I asked my dad, who's been in it for a little over 40 years, if he had ever seen one. He's never seen one. So unfortunate there. That I thought would have never even given the ball back if we were able to have that play. Defensively, I thought they did a nice job on 3rd downs when you look at it of keeping both drives alive. We had 2 times right before half to be able to get off the field and did not get that done. They were 11-18 on the day, and those, you look at those 2 drives, that was the key of being able to get to 3rd downs, but not being able to finish it and get them off the field. And so all of a sudden it goes from 21-10 to 21-24, and then the defense I thought really settled back in after that until the last drive in the 4th quarter.
Coach, you talked about the goal of getting to your 4th straight bowl game this year. Your team was able to peak at the right time in November last year. We're on 3 of 4 to close it out and go to a bowl game. What do you kind of use this bye week, and what do you tell your team coming out of this bye week to try to recapture maybe what you had at the end of last season?
Yeah, they always say they remember what you do in November, and it's funny how football works. In October last year, we won 2 really close games against JMU and Marshall. And this year, we were 5-3 at this time. This year, we lose 2 really close games with Southern Miss and Arkansas State, 2 battles, and now you're 3-5. So you have to, really set pace in November. And we got 4 opportunities to get that done, 2 rivalry games. And, couldn't be a better timing to have a rivalry game. I thought our kids really, it was a very emotional game for us last game. I thought both teams, you saw the emotion after the games. Arkansas State, how they celebrated the hurt on, our team, our players and our staff. We poured a ton into that. And it's a great place to have a rivalry game, to play App State right now, because it's automatic emotion. And the 11 days allows us to get healthy. You got the opportunity to do something really special that's not been done here, and that's 4 straight bowl games. That'd be the first time in the history of the program. And so we get that first opportunity to go against App State, and then we come back home versus Coastal, and both are nice rivalry games. So I expect our kids to do exactly what they did in Jonesboro, fight like heck to go 1-0 on the week. Thanks, Sam.
Thanks, Coach Helton. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Take care. Hail Southern.
Yeah, just kind of struggling to find a way to win. And kids are playing really hard. We're giving ourselves a chance every week. In the fourth quarter, we're in 1 possession game every week. And, kind of struggling to shake that injury bug too, but it's we're in it every week, and we got guys that continue to step up and continue to play really hard for the Cajuns. And as long as we're doing that, we'll have a shot. We've got four big ones left, backs against the wall. And we got a group of kids that they really enjoy playing together. They really enjoy working with each other. And we're fighting our tails off to try to get one more. But certainly we got our hands full, going on the road, taking on South Alabama, coming off of a win. But we just got to find a way to get over that hump. We had a series of plays there. We had the back-to-back interceptions, that really put us behind the 8 ball there, and we were never able to get back on top. I think 2 weeks in a row, turnovers really hurt us. And then not being able to score touchdowns when we got down in the red zone. We made quite a few trips down there. I think we were 1 for 4 on touchdowns. We had 3 field goals. So in games like this and 1 possession games, close games, you got to find a way to score touchdowns. So I think even with the mishaps that happened, you find a way to put the ball in the end zone. It's a little bit different. So it's, guys are fighting, man. They're battling. They still believe in each other, and they're still pushing through it and playing really hard. Just got to get some things to go our way and make a couple key plays in these games and get over the hump.
We'll open up now for questions from our media. For our media, please use the raise hand function. We'll call on you to ask those questions. We'll start it off with Adam Miller.
Yeah, Coach. Obviously, you mentioned the back-to-back interceptions in the first half, certainly adding some difficulty and strain on some things. But I thought the 3 touchdown drives Troy put together offensively, there were some sustained drives. I think a 5-minute drive, a 6-minute drive, a 5.5-minute drive. Just for your defense, obviously, really having to do a lot. What were some of the things that you felt that maybe were opportunities to maybe end some of those drives sooner, or some of the things that you think that they're going to be able to do in those situations going forward?
Yeah, I think you're on the right thing here. I think when our defense, whenever we're able to get them behind the sticks and create some negative plays, typically we have success. There was a drive there. I want to say it was their first touchdown drive. We get them 2nd and 19, and they pop a run for 18 to get back to 3rd and 1. We tackle them for a loss on 2nd and 3, get them to 3rd and 4, and we let the quarterback out of the pocket and contain and score. That's kind of the things that are whenever we're getting them behind the sticks, typically we're able to get off the field. We had a couple drives there where we weren't. The touchdown drive after the interception, we gotta go put the fire out. We're not in a great spot. We give up an explosive down to the 3-yard line, and the next play they're in. So, those are things. I think that was just a momentum shift right there. And like I said, I'll have to take that. I've got to manage the game a little bit differently. The first interception was really just bad luck. The route timing wasn't great. The ball was in the right spot. Kid made a good play, put his helmet on the ball, tips right to him. The second one, was really, it was probably just being too aggressive, truthfully. Just, we need to go out there and just try to put a drive together, and sometimes a punt's not a bad play. So that's on me, especially the second one, to manage it a little bit differently. But yeah, on defense, you just got to get off the field when you get an opportunity to. I think, we did some things to get them behind the sticks at different points in time, and we're able to get off. But a couple drives there, those 2 other drives, we really weren't. And, you got to tip your hat to them, man. I thought they did a really good job, when they were operating efficiently, and kind of staying ahead of the sticks. They kept us on our heels a little bit. I think their quarterback is playing really, really well. That ran the ball, play with really elite toughness, and and made some plays in the throw game too. So you got to give them some credit where it's due. But certainly for us, I think that's the big thing is when you would get them in the extra long situations and we're not able to get off the field, it's a little bit of it's kind of deflating. And I think for us, with our defense, is kind of what we've done. We've given up maybe some yards and things like that. But once we get an opportunity to get off, we gotta be able to get a stop and get there.
Let's jump over to Billy.
Hey, Coach. Kind of speaking about that on the other side of the ball. Offensively, you had your moments there, but what did you feel like they did maybe differently in their third down packages that maybe kept you a little off balance throughout the game?
We were actually conversion downs. We were actually pretty good. I think what their third downs, I think in the red zone, and we knew this is what they were going to do on third and long in the red and gold zone. They played drop 8 defense. So you don't have a whole lot in the pass game, and on 3rd and 8 or 3rd and 9, running it is unless you're going for it, which we tried one time actually. We were trying to go for a 2-down call on 3rd and 8. We ran it and we got stuffed and didn't get anything, so we had to kick a field goal. So I think what happened to us, to me, more than the third downs, is we converted on 3rd and 4th down at a really high rate. The reality of it is when we got in the red zone, we got down there and then we had a negative play. We have a -4-yard run, a -3-yard run, and now we're behind the sticks on 2nd and long. And we weren't able to get back in front of the chains, and now we're 3rd and 8, which they were going to play drop 8. They were going to play double cloud. They were going to have 3 safeties back there. There's not a lot of room in the throw game, and certainly, like I said, unless you're trying to go for it on 4th down, the run game's not great either. So I thought in the red zone, I thought they did a really good job of getting us to 3rd and long, and I thought those were the conversion downs, in my opinion, that really kind of affected the game more than the normal part of the field because we were able to create some running game. We were able to move the football. We were able to get points on the board this week, where last week, there's times we didn't get them on there. It's field goals instead of touchdowns. And the way we're playing right now, and the types of games that we're in, that we're going to be in, we got to get 7 instead of 3. Those 4-point plays and those 4-point swings are meaningful. And we had opportunities there where we'd get a stop on defense and we'd go down and we'd get a field goal. We'd get it to within 1 possession, whether it was 5 points or 8, whatever it was. And we just really needed a touchdown, and then on defense, we couldn't get a stop the next time. So then, it just, we've got to put the ball in the end zone when we get down there. And that captures some momentum, right? That you go tie the game instead of going down by 5. Well, that's a totally different feeling on that sideline too. So, it's you got to score points when you get down there. You got to score touchdowns, and part of that is being in manageable third downs. Because I think when we're in that, we did a pretty good job.
Coach, one final one here for me. Looking ahead to next week, Kentrell Bullock obviously had a great weekend for South Alabama this past week. Really, he's been kind of the determining factor. It seems like in their 2 victories, he's had 100-yard rushing games in both of those games. The final drive, they handed off to him 6 times to run in the game go-ahead touchdown. Kind of what do you guys have to do to be able to slow him down, and how key will that be to this weekend's matchup?
Guy's a hell of a back, man. He does a really good job. I think he's been a good player for a long time. You got to get knocked back on the defensive line. I think if everything's moving forward, if they're knocking us back and his pads are downhill the whole way, I think he does an elite job of, like, all of his cuts and his jump cuts and his runs are so tight to the pile. He doesn't get real loose. So, if there's a crease at all and it's all moving forward, his shoulder, he plays with great pad level. He runs behind his pads. And if it's all downhill and you don't make him jump cut or get out of it, or make him bow backwards, if it's all getting knocked back, the guy's really a problem because he gets downhill on you in a hurry. I think up front, we got to do a good job. We got to get some knockback, and we got to make some things a little bit dirty for him to try to slow him down a little bit. And then, when tackling, you got to square fit. You got to get off of the down blocks at linebacker. You got to freaking fit it square. You got to run your feet. You got to gang tackle. And at safety, you better make sure you're tight off those fits because he'll roll it right back off the hip. And if you're not chasing the hip and getting in there, it's a problem to get him on the ground. So, certainly being able to stop the run is a key for us to being able to win this week. And if we can't do that, it's going to be a tough night. And it's a tall task because I think Coach Applewhite does a really good job in the schemes that he runs. There's a lot of different stuff that they do, a lot of different window dressing on it, try to get your eyes out of the fit. And then when you have a back like him, doesn't need a whole lot of space. If you're a little bit out of the fit, he's going to put his foot in the ground, get vertical, and now you're trying to tackle him outside in, and not many people are having success doing that. So a really good back, which, man, in this league, we've had some good ones, and he's a really good one.
Thanks, Coach Des. Appreciate your time today.
Thanks, guys.
Yep, good to see you guys again. Halfway through the Sun Belt schedule with 4 left, and hard to believe we're here. I know I say it every week, but it's just amazing to me how quick it all goes. Awesome atmosphere this past weekend, and what I deem a tremendous program. Coach Des is a great man, a great football coach. It was all over the tape what we knew we were up against this past weekend, and it was nothing any different. They played extremely hard, very physical. They hit our quarterback, we hit theirs. It was a typical Sun Belt battle, and came through to the fourth quarter. Certainly proud of our guys, our staff, and everybody for continuing to find the resiliency and impact it takes to play a blend of football between all 3 phases to put us in the victory column. But grateful and certainly ready to move forward with another tall task this week. So with that, I'll take questions. Thanks.
We'll open up now for questions. We'll start off with Craig Stevenson.
Hey, Coach, you were kind of demonstrably not happy at halftime, obviously, but talk about that and how your team responded in the second half. Seemed like you got out of them what you wanted.
Well, that's a good way of putting it. And I'm not much for doing that. And I certainly did not mean to do it to create a buzzer show. I was frustrated. I was frustrated that we let a punt hit ourselves right before that 5 seconds prior. I did not think we lined up with enough urgency on defense and play the way that we need to play, which is not our best. And offensively, a 4th and short and the missed field goal, just things that I thought were not our best, and had me in a mode of a little bit of rage. So I think that's an honest and very transparent way of giving a real look at what that really is at half. I think it's important that we are transparent, and the guys know that. I was the same, or if not more, to them at half, but also in a respectful way, and told them I need to keep my composure better and challenge myself to do so in the second half. And I think we all came together to do that in the second half.
Going into the year, your corners were guys maybe you didn't know a whole lot about, wasn't sure what to expect, but they came up in a big way the other day. Back-to-back interceptions, 1 return for a touchdown, 1 returned into positive territory. Just how have those guys been?
Well, we've been better there. We certainly need to keep improving because there's steps we need to take in consistency. But those were 2 big plays, and the one is a very physical play. I thought Jaquez's play just in the initial hit to jar the ball loose and then have a teammate on the way, and it becoming points and him falling in to the ball was a pretty neat deal. I loved the effort of that play, of the second interception with Lino, the effort of our defense and guys going to go cover offensive players up to try to get some return yards on that was impressive to watch on tape on the replay. But two great plays by them, and certainly more production going into this year at that position, which has helped us.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go over to Adam.
Hey, Coach, obviously a really pivotal division game coming up this weekend with Arkansas State coming in, but you get it at home Saturday night in Troy. Just the importance of the fan base and the crowd to get involved in this one, obviously, and give you guys an advantage in addition to your preparation against a team that in their last 3 games, Arkansas State, it just seems like they look down and out, and then they find a way in the end. Just the importance for your team to stay focused and have that home field advantage in a matchup like this.
Yeah, you're spot on. I mean, it's huge for us. It's homecoming. The weather's going to be clear. It's a night game on national television. Certainly 2 teams that are on winning streaks, so it's going to be a great football game to watch. And we have a great fan base. We're very biased, but it's certainly a great atmosphere to be at the Vet and our fan base, and we need them to come out and show it. I think it'll be a huge factor in the game for that, for our student section, especially to be behind Arkansas State sideline and for us to rally and get going. I think it's a huge step for us And you want to avenge a loss of last year. You know, they are continuing to show that they're a very resilient football team too, with how they've won this year. Certainly they did it to us last year at their place, and coming back after we came back early in the third and finished the game and beat us up there. So much to play for. Should be another great Sun Belt rivalry game, and excited to see our fans come out for us.
Time for one more from Billy.
Hey, Coach. You know, we just heard from Des a little bit. I'm curious from your perspective. Your red zone defense really kind of didn't really allow anything. You know, no touchdowns in the second half. Just how important of that piece, or how important was that to your defensive unit to see that? But then also, how do you use that moving forward?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was. I didn't get to hear Coach Des on it, but I'm sure he spoke about, you know, the difference in those are 4-point momentum plays between field goal to touchdown. And I thought for our defense to be able to hold them the way they did and just give up field goals in the second half was really the difference in the game, and was a massive step for us defensively. I think, you know, you look at it, and that was probably, besides turnover margin, you know, those are the two biggest keys of the game. And it's got to be momentum for us to start better on defense and continue to take steps. But certainly a big step taken for us to hold them where we did.
Thanks, Coach Barker. Appreciate your time today.
Yep. Thank you all.
Yeah, you know, had a great mini bye week. So, you know, got the kids rested up a little bit. Started on Coastal Prep last Wednesday. You know, looking forward to playing a great football team on national TV on Thursday night. Kids are excited about that. And, you know, we'll have a lot of fans down there. It's going to be West Virginia South down in Myrtle Beach. I mean, we have a lot of people, West Virginia people living in that area, a lot of fans with an opportunity to go, you know, good excuse for them to get down to the beach for a weekend. So looking forward to seeing the crowd and, you know, just excited about playing a great football team. You guys got my days all screwed up too. Today's Wednesday for me. So, you know, we're programmed a little different.
All right, we'll open up now for questions from our media. For our media, please use the raise hand function and we'll call on you to ask those questions. Started off with Tyler Kennett.
Coach, I'm just curious, you mentioned your schedule being off, just for this being your first kind of game off of a Saturday. Just what's the difference like for a weekly for you guys?
Yeah, so what we did after the Texas State game, gave the kids off on Sunday. Monday for us was, you know, like a typical Sunday, put the game to bed, did all those things, and then had developmental practice on Tuesday, and then dove into them last Wednesday. Had really good meetings on Coastal, getting prepared. And we've had already 4 really good practices, and we got a couple more this week. So that's kind of how we did it.
Let's jump over to Adam Miller.
Coach Gibson, yeah, I asked Coach Beck a similar question earlier, but you know, you guys have been really efficient offensively this year. In your 3 conference games, you guys lead the conference in scoring. You guys are, I think it's 46 points a game in the 3 conference games, and then, but with, you know, one of the lowest total play totals. So you guys are, you know, you're getting your points and you're doing it in an efficient manner. So with that said, how important is that going to be for your offense to, you know, really sustain some things and put a lot of pressure on Coastal Carolina's offense to be able to keep up with you guys?
Yeah, that's you know, our priority number one is we want to finish every drive with kicks, and you know that's taking care of the football. If we have to punt, that's not a bad play. But it's very important for us to get going early. We were sloppy in the first half offensively against Texas State, and then had a really good second half. So you know we have to come out of the gate and you know put some points on the board early and put pressure on them. So you know it's very important in this game, you know, that we come out. We can't start slow against these guys because they're going to control the clock as well with their quarterback now. Since they've had to switch, you know, that they've started Collier. He's, you know, he can run it. He can do some things. And, you know, so they're going to eat a little clock up as well and probably try to keep the ball away from our offense the best they can. So, you know, we have to make the most of every opportunity and, you know, we can't waste possessions.
Let's go back to Tyler.
Coach, you kind of mentioned a lot of it there, but just anything sticking out to you for Coastal defensively, especially now that you've had time to kind of look over them a little bit more?
Yeah, they're they're aggressive. They do a really good job. I think their D line's really good. Linebackers are big kids that they can run and hit you. They're going to try to get pressure on us, and and again, everybody plays us a little different, just because of the threat that Carlos has been running the football. So, our offensive staff is going to have to go in, and obviously we watch a lot of film, compared a lot of offenses to kind of what we do, and trying to get a feel. But again, we're going to have to make early adjustments in this game and make sure that we're doing what we need to do for what they're giving us.
Let's jump over to Billy.
Hey, Coach. Just curious, how have you, from your perspective, how have you seen Carlos kind of grow throughout this season, and how important is he going to be? You guys down the stretch, you got 5 in a row. How important is he going to be to finish out this Sun Belt stretch strong?
Yeah, it's been he's been really, really good. His leadership skills, the energy he brings at practice. He's not afraid to speak up and get on guys, and he's playing at a high level, so a lot of guys respect him, and he can do that. So, and Carlos is a guy that cares about ball. I mean, he's going to study film and get guys in here with him and put in the extra work, do all the things a quarterback should be doing. And he's embraced his role. His confidence is sky high right now, and our confidence in him is the same. So, he's earned that over the last few weeks. And Carlos is a tough kid. I mean, the way he plays, he takes some hits, and he's a guy that loves it. I mean, he loves when he's live and in the action, and so I'm looking forward to him down the stretch here. I mean, we get this one on Thursday night, and we got a couple extra days before the next one, and it's 4 in a row. So we've really not been through that stretch yet. So we just had to prepare ourselves, and whether it's cutting back a little bit of practice time, whatever it may be, just to keep our kids healthy and ready to go and energized.
Thank you, Coach Gibson. Appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Sure. Well, obviously a good win for us. Required all 60 minutes of effort and really all 3 phases to get it done. When you really look at a game, usually it comes down to 4 to 6 plays, but I think this game was really, really different in terms of the vital plays, the key plays from a singular standpoint that really directly impacted the outcome of the game. I think the biggest element of the game, when you really look at it, was the way we bookended the end of the first half and the start of the second half. We had a 14-point swing, and we ran 27 consecutive plays with their offense being off the field. So I think the way, we managed the first half and the way we started the second half was big. I thought from a critical down execution standpoint, particularly third down, that came into play. So again, really appreciative of our players' efforts. When you look at being down against a quality opponent like Georgia Southern, being down 14-0, being down 21-10, we never blinked. We don't play to a scoreboard, we play to a standard. And that was kind of the mindset in which our team performed, and just appreciative of their efforts. And, so many times you have culture wins. And I think right now we're winning culturally, but we have to get better in a hurry. Obviously, a great challenge going to Troy, and have a lot of respect for their football program, their football team. They're really well coached. They're physical in all 3 aspects. And then obviously they have a great competitive advantage of playing at home. So we have to get better in a hurry. We still have too many red blinking lights right now that we need to continue to work on and get fixed going into Saturday night's contest at Troy.
We'll open up now for questions. We'll start it off with Luke Matheson.
Coach, I know since you've been in Jonesboro, you have preached about the run game and being able to run the football when everybody in the stadium knows you're about to run the football. Kenyon and Devin have really stepped up this season, I think, and you was able to do that Saturday night. Had a record game for rushing yards. How critical is that moving forward? I know some very solid games. You mentioned Troy this week. Some very solid games coming up. How critical is that run game for you?
Well, it's vital because you can't be one-dimensional, and we've had some one-dimensional moments this year. So I think anytime you can be balanced, it lends itself to, being successful on offense. And I thought our running backs ran really hard. They got the dirty yards when they needed it to. I thought our run efficiency, and when I talked about critical down execution early on, that was a byproduct of run game and run efficiency on first and second down that put us in a third and manageable situations. So we were able to control that, which obviously helped. But anytime you can get your run game going, it helps your RPO game, your play pass, your naked game, your misdirection. So again, it was the most balanced we've been all year.
I wanted to ask about the defense also. I know early on there were some struggles with defense, and I know it's not there yet. It's not perfect. It's not where you're going to want it to be, but it seems like we are seeing week to week improvement in that defense.
Well, again, a lot of these individuals weren't here for spring football. And again, you start off the game 14-0, and then, they only score 10 points, and they only scored 3 points in the second half. When you talk about critical moments, managing critical situations, I thought really the goal line stand at the end of the game, where they had first and goal, and we were able to only give up 3 points. That's a 4-point swing. And so again, we spent a lot of time on red zone efficiency, goal line situations. So again, our defense has given us opportunities. Obviously, they'll be challenged Saturday night with a big physical imposing O-line. Really, really good quarterback. He's probably one of the toughest quarterbacks I've seen in a long time. Receiving core is dynamic, and their running backs are explosive. So we're going to be challenged, but this team has a lot of confidence right now. Where we've not done a good job, and it's been no secret, is managing the opening script to start games. We've not started very fast, and once we've settled in, but for the next 4 weeks, we can't settle into games. We can't warm up to the games. These games aren't games you warm up to. You got to have the ability to start fast and moving forward.
Jump over to Adam Miller.
Coach Jones, yeah, I know you just what you just said was, you don't want your team getting, you want faster starts, obviously, but even in those situations, especially, these last 3 league games have been like roller coasters, maybe for a viewer. What can you say about your team's resolve, though, even in those situations where you're able to play from behind, and then still, the team just has this internal belief that the game's never over until that clock hits 0. And where that mentality for your team was birthed, if it was, preseason workouts, fall camp, where does that come from?
Well, I do. I think it's a process of learning how to win. And you can learn how to lose and you can learn how to win. And I think part of learning how to win is you can't lose the game. You have to first not lose the game before you can win the game. And, when you really look at it with errant problems, pre-snap penalties, drop passes, turnovers, missed tackles, all those things that attribute to losing the game. And I think, our players are learning how to win. And it's a process because of having 70 plus new players. So what we did last year really has no effect on this year's team because it's a new team. I think when you win 2 back-to-back 1-point victories, since this is amazing, is since 1900, there's only been 36 teams that have won back-to-back 1-win games. So that is exceptionally hard to do. So a lot that goes into it. I think our players believe in the belief that you play to a standard, you don't play to a scoreboard, and all those things that go into that. I do think we have connection, but you have to recreate it every single week. The world of college football, they used to say you live in you live yearly, season to season. In college football today, you don't even live week to week, you live day to day. And it's just about making the most of each and every day. And we've been able to do that. But what we did last week doesn't even matter going into this week. So we have to recreate it every single day.
Go ahead. We got one more question here from Luke.
Coach, I want to ask you about that defensive line, and DeMarcus had a career night the other night, 2 sacks, at least seven or 8 tackles, getting a lot of pressure on the backfield and the quarterbacks. How big has that been for you, and what are your thoughts on DeMarcus and how he's playing?
Well, again, DeMarcus has kind of turned into one of our leaders on our team. Obviously a newcomer, but when we talk about culture and you talk about recruiting character, not only does he have great competitive character, but he has competitive character as well. And just been really proud of him. He's been playing through some aches and some pains, but he brings it every single day. He's part of our leadership group, and we're going to need more of that. But it's about, again, one-dimensional moments. I thought we were able to create duress in the pocket, and we were able to do that. And we were able to create 3rd and long situations as well. And, a lot of people talk about you have to earn the right to rush the passer on 3rd down, and you do that by winning 1st and 2nd down. And, the last couple of weeks we've been able to do that.
Thank you, Coach Jones. Appreciate your time today.
All right, Sam. Everyone have a great rest of your week.
Thank you.
Yeah. Obviously big win for us. Able to, have the lead for most of the entire game and then hold on to it there at the end. And that was a big moment for us and be able to win that game. And now we're looking forward to going to ULM. I mean, that's going to be a big challenge for us. It's a very physical football team and well coached. So I know our guys are ready for the preparation and ready for that challenge.
We'll open up now for questions from our media. For our media, please use the raise hand function and we'll call on you to ask those questions. We'll start it off with Adam Miller.
Coach Rahne, obviously, it felt like an interesting game in terms of monitoring the explosive plays between you and App State. You guys had the big one to start the game, the 70-yard touchdown pass, and then obviously them late with the 2 touchdown passes late to tighten things up. Overall though, I felt like your defense played really disciplined until that 4th quarter there. But what were some of the things that you felt in the middle of the game made it easier to limit the explosive plays for App State?
I thought our D line played pretty well. They were able to get home and affect the quarterback quite a bit, and I think that was probably the biggest thing to limit the explosive plays. They were able to control the line of scrimmage, get some knockback, and that was helped us in the run game, but also helped us force a couple turnovers and then limit the explosives.
Let's jump over to Billy.
Hey, Coach. Speaking about your defensive unit, you held them to just 4 first downs on 3rd down, 4 of 16 3rd down conversions. What was, your packages? What were you looking like? What do you really think allowed your team to be that successful and minimizing what they could do on 3rd down?
Yeah, well, obviously, I think that Coach Siler does a great job. Our defensive staff does a great job of designing different things, and then our kids executed. I think that, but ultimately, I thought that we kept it fairly vanilla, and our kids just executed. They were able to be in tight coverage. They were able to close those windows down. We were able to get home on some things and cause some quick throws. Unfortunately, they were able to pick up a few of those 3rd downs on 4th down, but we were able to get enough stops to get that win, which and like was brought up earlier. They scored a couple touchdowns late. We got to eliminate those. But I did think that overall we played pretty well on defense.
Go ahead with your follow-up, Billy.
Yeah, and then on the offensive side of the ball, Colton Joseph has another 300-yard game. What have you seen about his efficiency and his decision-making with the football in his hands?
Yeah, I mean, overall, I thought, it's one of those games where you maybe didn't feel as good about it while it was happening as when you went back and watched the tape and you went and you played all right. You were basically 50% on 3rd down and also got a 4th down conversion. And if we would have scored on that last one, it would have been one of those situations where we would have basically accomplished all of our winning metrics in that game. So I think that, Colton played pretty well. We missed a couple of opportunities to get a couple more points on the board, which would have been nice and really I think would have made us all feel better about the day in general. but he did what he needed to do to help us get that win, particularly on that 6.5 minute drive there at the end when they cut it to 24-14, and then we're able to drive the ball for 6 minutes and unfortunately didn't come up with points there, but it took a lot of time off the clock and really made that thing basically salted that game away.
Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Coach Rahne, just turning the page now to ULM cross division game. You guys head out on the road, but taking the momentum from last week into this matchup, how important is it going to be again for your defense to impact the quarterback on a ULM team that just made a change at quarterback, and obviously being prepared for maybe a guy you haven't seen a lot of?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we got to be ready to go there. I mean, we've got to be. Our D line needs to continue to play well. We played about 9 guys on the defensive line last week, and those guys played really, really well. And we were able to keep some guys fresh, allowed some guys to make some effort plays and things like that. So I think that's going to be the key. I don't really believe in momentum, particularly from week to week. I think that that's too hard to say it's going to last for 6-7 days like that. But you can build some things during a game, and I think that our D line is something that we kind of hang our hat on and we build behind them.
Thank you, Coach Rahne. Appreciate your time today.
All right, thank you.
Yes, definitely. Appreciate you guys being here this morning. Definitely a really good performance by our players Saturday. Thought they really executed well in the moment, had a really good competitive spirit, battled the elements, coming off a tough 2 road game stint and then being able to prepare really well for a really good team. I thought Coach Vincent and ULM had a really good plan, stressed us in a lot of positions, put some guys in some conflicts. But I thought, we executed our game plan well. We talked about being efficient and being detailed. Obviously, offensively, I thought we hit some big plays, which is huge. We took care of the ball in the elements, which is really good. Started to see some guys show up with a little more consistency on film defensively. Thought we did a really good job getting some takeaways, giving an opportunity for everyone in our locker room now to get to experience a bowl game opportunity, which is, kind of a road mark in our program, and then being able to build off of it and got to get ready. We got a bye week, which is great. I think the timing of our schedule really has helped us to get ahead on a really good Arkansas State football team and kind of figure out how to put our players in the best position to be successful next time we hit the field.
We'll open up now for questions from our media. For our media, please use the raise hand function and we'll call on you to ask those questions. Let's start it off with Helton.
Hey, Coach. Just want to know how you're playing so well, full winning streak you're going into a bye week. How do you mentally keep the guys sharp during the bye week, and also from a mental aspect, how do you keep everybody happy, healthy, coaches and players, especially right now during the season?
Yeah, there's a balance. We have a plan that we kind of put together back in the summer of how to get through the season. We've been in the situation where we've gotten 2 or 3 games and a little bit of a bye week, or 2 or 3 games and a Thursday night bye week. So we're kind of working our plan that we worked or that we planned beginning of the season. We've been blessed. There's not a lot of injuries. There's a lot of reps on guys, which every team in the country is in this position. So making sure we do a good job this week of getting a head start on Arkansas State and making sure that our game plans are fitting for the players that we have, making sure the guys that have had limited reps get a few more opportunities this week in practice to develop their skills, and then making sure we do a really good job of fixing some of the fundamental issues that, are showing up. Every week the game plan changes, so it kind of exposes you to some new fundamental deficiencies that you got to address, or you'll see them show up again. And then making sure from a coaching perspective that we use this opportunity to get some recruiting done. It's a big piece of what we do. We are not just a portal hub. I know it sounds like we are, but we typically recruit anywhere from 10 to 15 high school players a year with the portal. But what you have to do, those 10 or 15 have to be really, really, really special kids. You got to be intentional about getting to know them, how they fit, can they develop fast enough? Just because you're not taking 20 doesn't mean that you're not recruiting the high school and the junior college ranks. So we've got a combination of things that we need to get done. It gives our players a chance to get caught up on some academics, which is huge right now. We're doing a really good job typically in life. If one phase of your life is going well, it usually trickles over. So in keeping our guys sharp from that perspective, and then making sure when we get back on the field that we haven't, like you said, the physical and mental disposition is ready to go when we have to go.
Let's jump over to Hunter Dawkins.
Hey, Coach, this is Hunter. I know you spoke, even though I wasn't at the game on Saturday. I know you spoke a little bit about the lack of how you wanted to avoid complacency, at least with the 6 wins and the bowl eligibility. Is there anything that you change in your practice schedule, your habitual things that have gotten you guys to where you are now?
No, there's nothing we change. There is a method to our madness. As the season goes on, obviously you can't take 250 reps like you did in August. So as the season goes on, our rep count starts to adjust a little bit. That has nothing to do with how many games we've won or how many games we still have to play. It has more to do with where we are in the season. What's our focus? Obviously, as things go on, things show up. So we have to put a little more time and focus on those areas. So you got to basically steal that time from somewhere else. I think our kids are in a really good routine now with how we practice, the time we practice, the amount of reps. We're getting to the point now where we can start to add, some down the line guys. We've played a lot of guys on defensive line. We played a lot of guys at the O-line position. So getting those guys who have played a little bit more, some more reps in practice balances the load on some of the guys. But we don't change. One of the things Coach Saban taught me a long time ago is you be consistent in your preparation and you should be consistent in your performance. So there is a natural change as far as, hey, it's not, one's getting 30 reps, but we're still taking the same amount of reps. It's the same amount of practice time. It's just a little bit more intentional to what's showing up on film or what needs to be corrected by game plan or scheme each week.
Let's go back to Heath for a follow-up there.
Yeah, Coach. It seems like defensively, every week there's something happens. There's a spark. There's a play that happens. The missed field goal this past week, that really gets the defense going after maybe a slower start. How do you, I don't know, say create their own spark, but how do you change that to where it starts from the start of the game instead of that spark hitting? Because once that spark hits, you play great. But just want to ask you about that.
Yeah, it's kind of our philosophy, defensively. You could take two approaches. You could come out and you can be super aggressive and, be super, aggressive with calls and those type of things. Typically what we've gotten the last 3, 4, 5 weeks is what we see on film is not what we see the first couple of series. And to give our kids a chance to understand that, and adjust to that. We try to keep it simple, in the beginning of the game or beginning first few drives, and let us play with what we know we have, which is physicality, technique, and fundamentals. And then as the game goes on, we're able to put them in some really good calls or really good schemes or adjust the schemes. That's kind of our philosophy. I don't know if it's a global philosophy. Obviously, if you're going to get what you expect right out of the gate, it helps a little bit. There are some things that we need to do in the beginning of the game. I tell the defense every week, it's like, all right, you're going to let them drive down the field and score on this first one. Then all of a sudden you guys are going to show up. We'd like to kind of prevent that. But it's a little bit making sure that we don't put our guys in position to where something happens early in the game that we don't have answers to fix, or we're not putting our kids in bad positions early in games and losing confidence. So it's a little bit of a philosophy. I do agree we should be able to play base defense and stop any play. Now, does that mean stop it for a negative yardage play, or does that mean it's going to gain 4 yards when we rally to it and get it on the ground? But we should be able to play our base fundamentals and techniques well enough to defend any operation that we see. There's rules, there's eye discipline that goes into that, and trying to make sure our players understand that it's not the cause, it's what we do fundamentally and technique wise. So to answer your question, I guess the best thing would probably be a little sharper fundamentally and technique wise earlier, and then be able to add, the perfect calls or perfect alignments to blend those two.
Thank you, Coach Huff. I appreciate your time today.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate everyone.
Yeah, I'm just very pleased with the way our guys played on the road last Thursday in Atlanta. It was good to get a win. It was great for our guys to feel that again. Just back to work, playing against a great Louisiana team. I have a lot of respect for Des and his coaches, and worked with Jimmy Salgado at Syracuse in 05, and just a lot of respect for their program and what they've done. And, got to get ready to go play a really good Lafayette team.
We'll open up now for questions from our media. We'll start it off with Hunter Dawkins.
Coach, do you think that this game on Thursday, and you guys finally crossed the win column, do you believe, because the other games you've played a lot of close games, do you believe this is going to be the preparation that your team needs? Because you've talked about how good the team has practiced up from there, but is this what you think is going to turn the table?
I hope so. I think we've got to go out each and every day as its own, in terms of the preparation that we have to have for that practice. And Wednesday will be different than tomorrow, and Thursday will be different. And I do agree there is something called momentum, and I do agree with that. I think there's some validity to that statement. I think that's what you're talking towards. At the same time, you have to keep momentum going by doing the right things over and over again, and having consistency, and the old adage of hard work and opportunity meet. That's where you create your luck. The old saying, what is it? The harder I work, the luckier I get. So it's really that. And yes, there is momentum. There's more smiles. People are more upbeat, but the work still has to be done, and it has to be done correctly.
Let's go over to Billy.
Hey, Coach. Looking back at this game, really, really back and forth down the stretch. Just talk a little bit about, what went into the decision to really, really lean on Kentrell on that final drive. And just, is it one of those situations where you're feeding the hot hand, or was that a concerted effort? You get the ball with 4:11, you basically chew off 3 minutes, and then he punches it in.
Yeah, he did a great job. Our offensive line did a great job there at the end. In that situation, you're trying, if you can, with a 31-31 ball game, you're trying to score as time goes off. We did not do a good job as an offensive staff coming out of that timeout, right there for the 2 minute, and communicating to our back, if you break this run, we need you to go down at the 5-yard line. We didn't do a good job of communicating that. And then our next play from the goal line, we score, and we left too much time on the clock. It was great that we scored a touchdown, great that they were going to have to answer with a touchdown to tie. But those are things that we look at as a staff where we've got to be better than that. Coming out of the timeout, we had the information. We've got to communicate that to the people that matter, and be able to get those things. But yes, we were trying to rely on the run game to take our time and get into scoring position. Like any other offense, we're not trying to settle for a field goal. We want to take it out of the specialist hands and try to score a touchdown. In that instance, we just, we relied on our run game and Kentrell Bullock, and we just got to do a better job with the clock at the end.
Go ahead with your follow-up, Billy.
Yeah, and I was just going to ask, about his counterpart, Keenan Phillips, that led on the drive before that. How have you kind of seen that running back room kind of develop? And, really, when you're facing, a team with a dynamic offense, and Ted Hurst and what he can do, right, how does you using that momentum with the run game, the physicality of the offensive line, you really kind of slow the game and you can kind of play your game out?
Yeah, week 8, 9, whatever it may be, a little dinged up. So PJ was not his normal 100%. So Keenan got a little bit more run, and Broderick's doing a great job of rotating those guys and developing. Keenan's new on campus this year, but doing a great job of helping him develop. And now we've got 3 that we feel like can go in there and play significant downs. And anytime you got your run game going, and you can lean on it a little bit, you're a lot better offense. It's a lot easier to call plays. You can start to predict a little bit of, staying ahead of the chain. So those guys were tremendous, not only towards the end, but in the first half too.
Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, Coach Applewhite, I'm understanding a lot of things are very different between this year's teams and last year's teams, but looking at this game against Louisiana this week, last year's game, they had the injury at the quarterback position, but you guys had still really put up a lot of points in the first half. I think you guys scored 24 points, and held on to win the game. But understanding just maybe some of the things might be similar in terms of the way you guys are going to prepare for a game like this. What are some of the things that you found a lot of success last year that you think may be able to be applied with the type of personnel you have this year going into this matchup against maybe a very similar scheme and look that the defense might show you?
Yeah, there's different people in those spots. There is some similarity, but Jimmy and Des, they've done a great job with their QC, and they've changed some things here and there. Jimmy's always got something, every week. He's got a little something for you on third, maybe a little something for you in the red zone. A little something for you on second long, or but does a great job week to week, just tweaking ever so slightly to where it's not so much for his players, but it's a lot for the offense. And they do a great job of that. There's some things that you can glean off of last year's tape and previous games. But it's a whole new dynamic. It's a whole new dynamic with who they have at quarterback with Lunch and 3 and 7, and now Sampson's back in the mix. He's healthy, so it's a totally different mix of players. But it does help to have some familiarity with the scheme, and I'm sure they feel the same way on their offensive side of the ball, that hey, their defensive coordinator's back and they've done some new things this year, but we kind of know where their foundational defense is, kind of the way they open up spring ball. We know how they start teaching, so that it does help to have some familiarity. It's just different spots across the board. They've got some great defensive linemen that I feel like I've seen for 5 years. Cam has been up front for a long time, plays great football. But there are some new faces though too.
Thank you, Coach Applewhite. Appreciate your time today.
Thank y'all. Y'all have a good one.